This video is brought to you by Sailrite. Add a contemporary style accent to your dining room table with an elegant table runner to match the season's festivities. Pick your favorite fabric from Sailrite and we'll show you how to make your very own table runner. Angela from the Sailrite Loft is going to show us how it's done. Typically, the width of a finished table runner is around 13 to 14 inches. So you need to add 4 inches to that, and then mark your fabric to size and strike lines to indicate where the fabric needs to be cut. The length of our table runner will be about 87 inches. Typically, the drop on the ends is around 6 to 12 inches. To save on fabric costs, we're making our table runner from only 1 yard of fabric. Our fabric width is 57 inches, so we will need 2 panels which will need to be seamed together to make the length required for our table. The required length of raw fabric will be determined by measuring your table length and adding 6 to 12 inches for a drop on each end of the table. Then you need to add 4 inches for hems. Here you can see we're using the rotary cutter and the cutting mat to cut the 2 panels that are required for our table runner. Then we're cutting off the selvage edge of the fabric with that rotary cutter. Cut off the selvage edge on both panels since they need to be seamed together. Now we'll take those 2 cut edges and lay them on top of each other as you see here in the video. You'll notice the one panel is offset by about a ½ inch. Then Angela will fold the material over twice to create a full flat felled seam and then use multi-use pins to pin it in place. She'll continue to do this all along the length of that seam, taking her time to make sure that it's accurate, and then she'll pin it every few inches to ensure that it will not move when she takes it to the sewing machine and sews it. An alternative to pinning is to use the seam stick or basting tape, which is a double-sided tape, and you can baste everything together, then sew it. When she gets to the end, she'll roll up the fabric, and now we can sew that seam in place. We'll be using the Sailrite Ultrafeed LS1 sewing machine. This is a straight stitch walking foot sewing machine, and we're using a V69 polyester, or you could use a V69 nylon thread. Here she did some reversing at the beginning, and she sews approximately an 1/8 inch away from the folded edge, pulling the pins as she approaches them. Now she's feeding the fabric in so the pins are going towards her fingers, so she has to be careful not to get poked with a pin. And once she gets to the other side, she'll reverse there as well. It's probably not necessary that you reverse because we will be creating a double hem on the ends. And now that side is done. Now we'll flip the fabric over and do the same procedure to the opposite side, placing a stitch on that fold about an 1/8 inch away from the edge. Again, she does some reversing. We probably could skip that since we're going to create a double hem. And here's what it looks like when we're finished. She looks great. Angela finds the center where that seam was placed, and now she'll measure the fabric to the appropriate length that she wants it cut, and she needs to add the 4 inches for the hems that would be placed on the ends. Next, we're going to create a double hem on all edges. Angela's going to fold the material over twice here to result in approximately a 1 inch hem. You could use double-sided tape if you like, or you could pin it in place. Angela's going to take it to the sewing machine and hold it in place as she sews. Angela has decided to sew the hem so that it's on the underside of the fabric. That was just a preference. Here's what it looks like when it's done. Now we'll do that same procedure to the other end. We're not going to show that. Once the 2 short ends are hemmed, we'll do the same procedure to the long edges. So here we created a 1 inch double hem, and Angela again is going to hold it in place as she sews it. So she's going to do some reversing at the beginning. That is recommended there because that is a stitch that will be exposed on the underside of our table runner. She'll sew approximately 2 foot to where her hand has been positioned. She'll stop sewing there and reposition the fabric and create that double fold to approximately 2 foot away from the needle. She'll hold the fabric and sew up to that hand again and repeat the process. We're sewing about an 1/8 inch from the folded edge of the fabric, and we're sewing a straight stitch. The longer the straight stitch, the less puckering the fabric will have, so we're sewing about a 6 millimeter long straight stitch. When you get to the end, do some reversing. Then follow that same procedure for the opposite side, and you're ready to move on. We now have a rectangular table runner, but if you want to add a V-shaped end, keep watching. This table runner could be used as it is now, but we desire to have a V-shaped end with a little tassel, so Angela's folded the material back to create a triangle, and she pins it with one of those multi-use pins to hold it in place as she takes it to the sewing machine and sews it. She'll do some reversing at the beginning and sew all the way to the opposite corner. If you'd like to add a tassel, you can purchase them at a craft and fabric store, or you can use this umbrella decorative fringe that Sailrite sells to make your own tassel. We'll sew the top edge of the decorative fringe to secure it in place. For each corner, we've decided to cut 2 of the loops off of the fringe. Before we sew the tassel to the end, we will sew the outside edge of the V down. When we get to the V corner, we will lay the fringe or tassel down and sew over it, reversing a few times to secure it to the corner. Then we will sew up the opposite outside edge. Notice that when Angela wants to make a sharp turn, she buries her needle, lifts her foot, twists the fabric, lowers the foot, and continues to sew. We'll follow that same procedure for the opposite end, and your table runner is now complete. This table runner was made for fall, and it's ready for a Thanksgiving dinner. And now here's the materials list of the items and the tools that we use to build this table runner. You can purchase most of these supplies from Sailrite, and especially the fabric. We have hundreds to choose from. For more free videos like this, be sure to check out the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel today. It's your loyal patronage to Sailrite that makes these free videos possible. Thanks for your support.